Hey everybody, welcome to Luxe Life. I'm your host Candace Barr, and look who we have with us today. We have Big U. Thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So you're quite the entrepreneur. That's why we had you on the show. So Luxe Life is all about the entrepreneur, the celebrity, their story, and the journey, because it's never easy. And
Right.
the higher you go, the crazier stuff gets.
Yeah, that's actually true. That's a fact.
And so you're on a show on Hulu now that's really went off. And what is the show called?
Hip Hop Uncovered.
And so I know that you have you're not only on the show, but you have a major role with the show as well.
Yeah, I executive produced it. Found the talent, helped put it together. Was in the editing room. I mean, it's something we've been working on for 4 years. So I was all over it.
What made you want to do that?
Well, like I said, 4 years ago, a friend of mine, Jimmy Chris, came with the idea to do a show about managers and about bodyguards. And we kind of went over a lot of things and ended up turning into what you're seeing now. So I wanted to tell a more telling story and about hip hop. And some of our editors came on and they helped tell the story. It went from, I had an idea to do another show.
Okay.
And so we kind of morphed those shows. I don't want to say it because I'm going to still do it. We morphed those shows into this show. We took the stories from each person and told their stories and then linked them together.
It's actually a super interesting show. I've seen all that's been out so far, and it's actually really educational. It's like I did not know that hip hop it would not be where it is today without you guys.
Right. Not just without us, but it's a lot of people who it's a lot of us. It's more stories to be told.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's called Hip Hop Uncovered is for people to find out information that they didn't know. It's like, other people had parts in hip hop, but you just didn't know that they had.
And also like how deep that ran.
And how deep it ran, yeah. And because we always want to see the talent. We always know about the people who have the mic and not the people who actually behind them help making them.
Absolutely.
And so that was what we did.
Is there, I kind of want to start from the beginning with you because we love talking about, the beginning, the middle, what's coming up. And so you're from this area.
Yeah, I'm from here, Crenshaw.
And you're still in this area, obviously.
Still in this area, yeah.
So when you were coming up or when you were growing up, what made you initially get into what you got into?
In each one references gangs?
Yes.
It was our area. It was almost like you didn't actually be in it. You was going to be in it regardless. Kind of like just getting on the bus going downtown. And people ask me where you from. I don't bang. But where you live at? Oh, you from over there. So it was like that. It was like right now, even today. If you're born in LA, wherever you're born at, people will kind of make you affiliated with that neighborhood. Even if you want it or not. And so after so long, dealing with that, then going back and forth to school, we either gonna fall to it or fold to it.
Right.
So that's how I really got involved with gangs.
And then in the 90s, as you're already involved, I think if I saw it correctly, in and out of jail.
Yeah, in and out of jail from like 14.
And so in that time frame, was there anything that you did, or even I guess up until now, what was your, I would say, biggest regret of being in that lifestyle?
My biggest regret is my part is just dealing just in the gangs, and then my ignorance, just hurting people, just dealing with what came with the lifestyle. It's not just one thing. It's not just crack. It's the whole gamut of where our mindset was at that time. You know what I mean? So I can't just say one thing.
Right.
Because it was at that age it was
so many things going on.
It was so many different things going on.
Yeah.
They were almost all negative towards where we were and where my mindset is now.
I wanted to ask you this question because I know that lifestyle, that's not really a forever career.
No, it's not.
And you're still here. You're still around.
Well, I did my time. I did 13 years.
Yeah.
I did 13 years. So I did 13 years at one time, but I did multiple years fighting cases in between there. So it's almost like you're either going to die or go to jail, or you're going to spend a multitude of your life in jail.
Right.
So you got a lot of people that did 30 years. I did 13. So it's a lot of years of wait that, I had to give. And so me being here, I think is a blessing.
Yeah.
I feel like I got a mission to complete, to show young people that it's a way to get out and it's something else to strive to, that you can really, if you had a bad start, now
you don't have to stay in it.
You don't have to stay in it.
You can choose.
Right.
I wanted to ask, when you were in jail, what were some major learning lessons that you kind of like helped change your life around maybe while you were in there?
I had started making my change before I went to jail. I read Malcolm X's autobiography, and it had an overwhelming effect on me. I got a homeboy who was on death row. His name was Lil Fee. And right after I read Malcolm X's autobiography, I told him that I was going through some shit, that I was tripping off this book. And he was really instrumental in like sending me other books to read. 100 Years of Lynching, Noble Drew Ali, books on different people and different authors. And then I met Minister Louis Farrakhan shortly after that. So I was, and then my stepfather, Donald Ray Evans, who was already an author and had already been writing. He already had been on that page, and it just that I was so far gone. Right. And when I started back reading, it brought me back. So at that time, I had probably amassed about $30,000-$40,000 a month in bills, just in buying property from cars and all kind of stuff. Money I had from the dope trade, trading over money. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to make a living. But I knew I didn't want to sell crack and I didn't want to be a part of certain things. So I thought the only way to do it was to rob. Yeah, remember I was still young, 22, right. 23.
Right. So it's a baby.
Yeah, still young. So I'm thinking, well, maybe if I just rob the drug dealers, and that's how I ended up going to prison. But my mindset as far as doing stuff to people with no malice was really pretty much over. So when I did get to prison, I just kind of furthered my education. And I think that's where the LA kind of built the trust with the men in LA, because people I had their time to be at time with have realized that I wasn't the same person I was before. So now when I'm doing time, they're looking at me different. So that helped me when I came home to start developing option, because I had a relationship with a lot of dudes from doing time.
I always said, entrepreneurs and I guess you call them criminals, their brains are exactly the same.
No, exactly.
They just decided to do something different with it.
Exactly, 100.
And I wanted to ask you, because you are quite the entrepreneur. That's why we're having the show. What made you, after you decided to get out of that whole thing and started going kind of like on the straight and narrow, I'd say, how did being on the street, how did you take that and just mold that into something positive? What you learned?
Like I said, reading. I studied so much stuff when I was in Gone. I read on. I think I took up reading. So I read every book I can get my hand on. I read books on marketing, on finishing, building. I read, if it was something that was educational, I read it. And then I did 3 years and 9 months in the SHU. So I really didn't have nothing to do but 24 hours a day, but to read.
Wow.
And so I read everything. My wife would copy books for me. And I would have her copy books and she would mail the books in. Because I could only have so many books. So I thought she would copy and mail them to me. I'd give them to somebody else. I'd read them a second time. And I would be reading like 3-4 books at a time. So I took that energy and what I read and I
made use of your time.
Made use of it. But it was a funny thing, right? When I came home, I would always have an opinion on something. Because I've read on it. So that was kind of a downfall, especially when it came to my kids. My son's like, you know everything. And I'm like, so, but it was, and it brings me to today about like being an entrepreneur, hustling. Because for me, being Big U gets through the door before I ever get through the door. So most people don't think I can read or write. Because they hear Big U, they want to see the gorilla, or they think the gorilla's coming through the door. They don't have respect to the fact that I read all of them.
That was my next question to you. It's like, what do you think is the biggest misconception of you?
Oh shit! I don't know if it's a misconception or if it's just like if you meet me and you meet Big U and you think it was rolling 60s, I'm the person you know from Roller 60s. So anytime you hear something bad that the Roller 60s may have been involved in, you're associated with the person that you may know or you hear of. So I'll go in the room and I ask somebody, well, tell me something I've done. They can't tell me nothing I've done. But because of the Roller 60s and my name is branded with that, they tend to put that with me.
Right. So
going through the door, if you have a bad relationship with them or if something happened with Crips, even I get the Crips now. So that's even more bigger. That's so, but that's a major misconception, and it's easy to vilify somebody who's my size, my dark, my complexion, and with a history that I have.
Right.
So through the door, he's this big, until they meet me. You know what I mean? You got to meet me, talk to me, and see. All right, I'm probably the most fairest person I could be.
Do you think the years have softened you, and just what you've learned?
Well, I'm definitely softer. Education has softened me, I think, and I don't know if it's softened me. It just gave me a sense of ownership in my situation, in my time. You know, I'm in my time. I can function in my time without being, you know, because it's about time. Time. You don't know. You don't have enough of it, and it goes so fast, and you have a struggle trying to remember it. So it's not like money, but time is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
So I think education helped to soften that and to move me into a different space.
What would people be surprised to learn about you?
That I can read and write. I mean, it's that. I mean, I'm passionate about everything I do. I try to be passionate. The one thing about me is I tend to hold people to their word. I feel like if somebody said they're gonna do something, they should do it. And what I had to learn in this industry, which is different from me and other people, and that's the one thing I would say is a negative thing, is I had to learn that people lie so much.
Yes.
That they do lie to kick it. And we used to have a saying when we were young, you don't have to lie to kick it. Well, they lie to kick it. And when I was new coming into the industry, I didn't get that. I didn't get that people will tell you certain things just because you're there. And it's not even because I'm big you, but it's just they naturally lie to you.
Right.
So that was one thing I had to adjust to.
I'm gonna go to the show real quick. So, is there anything in the show that you wish people didn't see? That you were looking at it later or watching it later and was like, you know what,
I put it all in there.
Yeah.
I put it all in there. I mean, I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
I tell stories. I do. It's one thing I do which people didn't see. It's a map on my neighborhood, and it says that my neighborhood starts on Arlington, but it really starts on Western.
Okay.
It goes from Western to the hills, and it's the map. So it kind of cuts off a major part of my neighborhood. And my homeboys on the other side, like, what the fuck is?
Yeah, they're like,
how you cut us off? That's the only thing. And it's my fault to a certain extent because I seen it, but I didn't pay attention to it because we edited hours and hours, and you looking at stuff, and you're like, and I'm thinking Arlington's that's where I grew up, but it's really, that's the only thing I feel.
It's so much detail when you're editing.
It's so much detail.
You're going through so much stuff and trying to get the story right.
Wow.
And all the different
and we
stuff.
still got the story wrong because now, after you go back and watch it, and it's somebody else telling you like that ain't how that happened. That has, and then your timeline. So no matter what, you're gonna miss something. But that's the one thing that I wish I can go back and correct. That map.
And I know you said so. Is the season done with that, or is it?
Yeah, we're finished. We just finished. They just aired 5 and 6. Right now we're trying to see if we're gonna get approved for 2.
Okay.
We don't know.
I'm sure you will.
Well, FX is kind of saying they finished with the documentary, but we got a lot of people that's calling us now.
I'm sure it'll continue because it's done quite well. So.
But they saying that we only doing 1 documentary, so we don't know.
We'll see. Is it hard to, watch and go through the documentary and to see what I know your life because you lived it, but is it hard to relive certain things or talk about certain things?
No, because you kind of get. I think you're talking about the passing of certain people.
Anything really?
No, it's not, because it's joyful for me to see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to see it in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm able to play back my life and see it, and that's really. It's in what I mean. I guess it's because I couldn't put everything in there. So I'm missing like 75% of it. It's like we took a line and we went around it to tell a story. And there's so much that we could have went through.
Yeah.
So we had to go around and tell certain things that were prevalent to other people. So that's the difference in telling my story. Is my story was told by what other people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, my mother's story is so big. The story of us on Arlington is so big. My mother came from the South here. 13 brothers and sisters. She came here. It was 7 of us, and our first cousins, and it was 10 of us in relations. Right. I'm one of 4 that's living.
Wow.
So my auntie Sue lost 3 of her sons. You know, we were all born. They were all off Arlington. And then my mother lost a son, my auntie lost a son. All of them lost sons. So, and then that's when we first started. So first person I seen die in my family was at an early age, was my uncle. I didn't actually see him die, but that was first my, and then it was my other uncle a year after that. And so then it was my cousin BC. So death has always been upon us, even for my little brother getting killed when I was in prison. And then GB, Stone, all these people who were close to me, who were loved ones, all the way leading us up until right now. So it's never been, it's so much of the story I could have told.
Right.
So I had to just tell it from the point of view. So I chose to tell it about Chili Capone, who's my oldest cousin out of our age group, who died first. And then we go through there. 'Cause I didn't even talk about my little brother getting killed. And he died with corrupt at the studio years ago. So that was like a famous murder. And a lot of my homies was like, why you didn't talk about your own brothers? But it's only so much I could tell. Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch, or when you watch the show, are you proud of yourself from where you came from to what you're doing now?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We sitting in some of my work right now. We're sitting in developing option. I have on the show you seen 4 of my boys who are in college who are about to graduate. I got 5 that's going to graduate from college this year. Then behind them is another class of 4. So, but I've been putting boys in and out of college, in and out of school for like the last 17 years.
Wow.
I've been associated with 8 that made it to the NFL. That came through developing option. I got so many that graduated from college, it's pathetic. But those are the things that people never hear about.
Right, that's what they don't see.
They don't see that, they don't hear about that. They don't know about how I sacrifice to pay. It cost me almost $50,000 a year to do football. These banquets that I do, and where I buy kids all suits and I give them their tuxedos that they will never have.
Very nice.
And we set out these banquets. These things are not
And those
cheap.
things are not free.
No, they're not free.
Those things cost money.
And I have to hustle, and I have to beg, and I beg celebrities, I beg artists to make donations, and some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them may look at it like, what is he gonna do with the money? But now it's evident what I do with the money. But even before that was the struggle. Big U asking you for some money. Oh, you pressuring me. You ragging me down. Oh, he gonna take the money. And no matter how many years I've shown what I do with the money, but it's still always that. So if somebody make a donation to me, it'll be somebody else in the comments like, oh, he pressured you. So it's always been dealing with that. It's always something.
And I really want to ask you, because when we came here, and we've been in this area before, Hollywood is not far from here.
5 minutes.
So I have to, what makes you stay in the community or in this area?
Well, it's all white now. Well, they took it back. This area right now is predominant. Is on its way to becoming, especially where I live in the hills. It's on its way to becoming predominantly white now.
Really?
Totally. Okay, Slauson is right here. So if you go straight down Slauson, Google, Facebook, and Google,
Tesla?
Facebook. Now Tesla bought down Crenshaw.
Okay.
South of Crenshaw.
Okay.
But Google, Facebook, and what's just bought all this property in the marina.
Okay.
So you have an influx of people who are coming
in
from other places to buy property here. So where I live, they're paying $200,000-300,000 over asking price for the properties right now. So they're coming down. So then you got a $5 billion railroad that's going from the valley all the way through Crenshaw to the railroad. So that made this prime real estate. You got I don't know how much they're paying for the football stadium, which is 5 minutes that way. So now what that did is between Inglewood and our area, it made our area the prime real estate. Right. They bought all of everything west of Crenshaw. So they're gonna come 3 miles east of Crenshaw to rebuild.
And once they come in there, more are coming.
Well, they're already here.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I feel like we weren't educated enough. We weren't. They call it gentrification.
Yep.
But I call it robbery because if you go downtown, when I go downtown, you see all of the people, Black and Hispanic, who should have owned houses in this area now, and they're downtown, and so. And we would think that most of that is drugs, but it's not.
Right.
Most of it is mental health.
Right, 1,000%.
So how do we get to? How does this city, which has so much to offer, have one of the biggest mental health problems and issues, and we do not address it?
We do nothing about it. I was actually just having this conversation with someone a couple days ago because I do live downtown, but it's like it's so separated because you either live in a high rise or you're living on the street, and it's like you were saying, they're not. A lot of them are not drug addicts. It's serious mental health issues. Santa Monica has been taken over. Venice has been taken over, and we're not doing anything about it to help it.
And so when I look at my area, and I think right now, the Crenshaw community is the biggest Black African American population, damn near throughout the states. We have the largest population of African Americans in this area, but we also have one of the largest foster care. Yeah. With people being, because like I said, because of homelessness and then incarceration, with us having at one point in this state over 250,000 people incarcerated. Wow. That hurt us as people to continue to be able to buy in our community. Right. So in the documentary, I talk about a street called Arlington, where I grew up at. Well, when I was younger, my uncle, I went to jail in 1987 for a case, and I came home. My uncle asked me to help him with a property, and he wanted me to buy a property across the street. At that time, that property was $32,000. I just bought a property a year and a half ago on that same street. I paid $585,000. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. That's less than 30 years.
Yes.
How is a property where we grew up at?
Right.
It goes from 30,000 to 580,000. That means that the people who live in this community could never purchase in that community.
Yes.
You need more than 2 family income to buy that property, to live in the area that you grew up in.
Right.
That's when we talk about regentrification. People don't understand it. So they price you out of the community.
And you have to. Where do you go?
From $30,000 to $580,000.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. And so I don't want to take all your time, but I just want to give you one more example. How they got in the communities was real slick. They had people coming to older people in our community, asking them did they want to redo their houses. So when they go in, they take these balloon deals to redo their houses. They give them fix the house, fix the garage, and all this, do all the stuff they did to it. They can't make these loans. Right. They put in these different loans and they retaking these people's houses. And that happened throughout our community. We didn't see it coming. So now
it goes back to what you were saying, just lack of education, lack of understanding what's actually going on and taking advantage.
Exactly.
Do you have a book coming out?
I haven't started on the book. We were sitting down doing a book deal, trying to have a book deal done before the documentary came out. I don't know what happened to it. My manager was dealing with it. We was trying to, and I know what happened to it. I think before the documentary, nobody knew who I was. Now they know who I was. So it's like, what story do we have to tell? So some of the writers were being told by the people who was doing the documentary, no, he has a real story, like, no, well, give us the story on Nip. Give us the story on this. Give us the story. Like, no, bro. His story goes past all of that. And so it was kind of
I
that.
actually think it's good timing. I think it's smart to have the book after the show.
Probably so.
Because for sales, it will go crazy.
Right, probably so, yeah. No, I think it is, though.
I agree.
So you going to help me with the book? Is that what you said?
We'll help you with the book. We
Okay,
do books. We do everything. We ask everybody this. You know, when you were coming up and you were making all this money and doing all these different things, it's called Luxe life for a reason. So there is ups and downs with life, obviously, but there's the good part of life where it's, you know, the stuff and the things and all the fun material stuff. What is something that you got at any point in life that you always wanted, and when you got whatever this was, and everyone's answer is completely different, you took a moment and you pat yourself in the back and you're like, you know what, I did good.
I did it a couple of times. When I got my house, then when I got the S63, then I just bought another S63. But I didn't really pat myself on the back when I got it. But, yeah. Because I'm not like a material person.
Yeah.
Like, I always been a gamer. Like, I always played video games from day one. And
That's
you
something
can tell.
people may not know about you.
Oh, I play video games. They like go crazy with me in video games. I've always played video games. And since I don't get high, I don't drink, I don't smoke. And you see, I don't have no tattoos. There's a lot of things I didn't do that other people did. Like, I didn't, and I always play video games
That's
from
your
like
escape.
concept. Yeah, and I could sit in front of Centipede, Pac-Man, I could flip all the games. I used to sit there all day long. So I'm like a simple person. I was a very violent person when I was younger, because I was the one like, come get me when it was time to go on. But I really would be at home playing Asteroids. I'd be playing.
Funny.
Yeah, and then the homies would call me, it pays me. It's only going down over here. So I'm on my way. Let's go. And I was simple.
Well, that bleeds into another question for me is, how have you, I would say, tamed or calmed down your temper?
Well, a lot of people say not calm down, but like I said, it's time. Reading, learning. I don't take things like, I really kind of don't take a lot of things that people say. So I don't get mad when people don't do what they were supposed to do. So I'm really kind of past that. And then having kids, and raising kids,
that'll do it.
It'll take all the energy out of you.
So really, they just exhausted you.
No, it's kind of like me see how childish I was, because you got to be able to. For instance, I have kids who are great, who just don't know they're great, because nobody's told them they were great. You know what I mean? So, and it only takes somebody of my caliber to tell a boy, look, man, you can be great. And then he'll process that, because he looks at me. Like,
well, it means something.
Yeah. And so I tend to try to take my struggle and then give it to the kids. And let them know, like, bro, wherever your mind is, you can get to where I am. You know what I mean? And then it's crazy that you ask me that, because I use my cars and the material things to show them. And it really works. It really works. I can take one of our kids, look, you can get this. I did this, I did this, I did this, and look what I got now. But I ain't getting it. I ain't getting it hustling. I'm getting it because of my brain. You know, and then they be like, you can't spell nothing on Instagram. I said, I know I can't spell. Goddamn, let's spell check, but goddamn it, I can read and figure it out.
I do want to ask you a couple more questions. And how has it been for you now that the show's out and kind of just this, like, I would say, influx of fame? Everybody watches the show. So
I don't know if I have fame.
How have you dealt with it?
I don't know if I have fame, because I really don't, like I said, I really don't go a lot of places. I left playing my video game. This I got my day. I get up in the morning, I go work out. I went from working out, I went back home, took a shower, and then, I played my video game. Then they called and said they was on their way, and I went and took a shower. I took a shower, I got back on my video game, waiting for them to come. Then I came here. When I leave here, I'm going back to my video game. Then I'm doing a Zoom call and another interview.
You know you can play on your computer.
I got, but the thing is, I got to be in, like my setup is crazy stupid.
There's a certain area you need to be
I
in.
got my setup. I got games everywhere though. Like I got a portable game that I carry. Like when I go out of town, I take my game with me.
Wow.
I got one that I take with me, and but as far as like fame, I'm not really tripping off that because most people in my community know me.
Yeah.
But being able to, I want to be able to do more for us. Like before the show, it was very hard for me to do stuff that other people can do in their community to help their community. And I'm hoping that changes. I'm hoping that I'm able, because I want a building.
Yeah.
I want it's three things I want. I want to have my own building where I can educate colored kids the way I want to educate them.
Yeah.
You know, like
You should be learning.
yeah, with the and that's my point. That's what I want. Because okay, there's a curriculum, but
It's useless.
exactly.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I feel that about all schools actually.
And I don't want to say that because I'm so connected to Crenshaw and schools, but I feel like where we are, boys should be learning stuff that's going to help them go out into the world immediately after the 12th grade. If you're going to go through the same, if we're going to keep this system and keep this quote 12th grade and they graduate 12th grade and you graduate with shit, with nothing, because I see so many boys who start game banging after school.
Yeah.
After they lose the structure, after they lose sports, after they lose getting up, and that's like, this is depressing. Because if they don't immediately go straight into junior college, which doesn't mean often, it's a depression that we go through, boys and girls. Let me not take that from the girls.
Well, they don't really set you up for any kind of success.
They don't.
It didn't. All that time spent didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So it was wasted time.
It is because, and I hate to say it is, but it really is.
It is.
Because I see so many kids who go through 5-6 years, be trying to figure it out. Then they fighting with their parents, they getting kicked in and out the house, trying to figure it out. And it's like in this mindset, when you're 18, you got to figure it out. We need to get rid of that shit.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be, parents need to be able to welcome their kids, but the kids need to understand after 18, I'm a part of the house.
Yeah.
I'm not getting kicked out the house. We're going to extend our house together. And that's the concept that we need to build. We're going to extend the house together. Okay, you 18, 19, I'm still supposed to help you. But how am I help you do what? You can't be just want to get smoke weed and get high all day long. You know, you got to be able to do something.
Use
like,
your time wisely.
where's your steady income? We need to be able to help these young people create steady income.
Well, you're really giving them hope. You're helping them dream. You're helping them succeed. You're setting them up.
Yeah, and that's what I want the building for. I want to be able to bring these kids, and then everybody can feed off each other with education. When I want to bring in my athletes that I know, and these writers, and teach them to write, learn the cameras. We create our own shows, and I want that's mine. That's what I want. Before I leave this earth, I want to have that building, so I can educate these kids. And we're gonna play games.
Yeah.
We're gonna play video.
Mandatory.
Mandatory. We're gonna play. It's gonna have to be one floor dedicated to real gaming. But no, I believe, cause I know this, cause the kids I have in college, when they got in trouble, it was mandatory that they had to read. You had to read, Think and Grow Rich. You as a man thinking. I used to make my kids read that back and forth. Each one of them will tell you. All my boys it's important. Rich dad, poor dad.
Absolutely.
Understanding what I'm giving you.
Absolutely.
Understand what the purpose is. And we used to have words, and I used to make them study words. And when they ran, they had to run. They did push-ups. They had to give me words. If they didn't know the words, I was on their head. You know, because I feel like you can't be scared of words.
Yep.
And etymology is the study of words. You have to understand what that is, what the lexicon is. This is what's going to give you a vernacular to be able to talk to people.
Absolutely.
And so I always feel like, and if you see my boys at the end of the number 6, you'll see them. They're just only the ones we could get on the Zoom. But it's very important, and they all play games too, just to let you know. And it was great for me because Nigel Lewis, Nigel wasn't in the documentary. But he wasn't in the documentary. He worked on this documentary, on his doing it. And he's at UCLA. He's studying law. He missed it. Then we got a couple more of my boys who were actually really doing the work. And so, but yeah.
What can we expect to see from you? You know, we're already in 2021 March. I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of this year.
I'm shooting these shorts. I got some short films I'm doing. I'm working on. Me and Sean, we working on it. It's gonna be like a cross of South Side stories from the Hispanic side, then African American side. We're gonna mix these stories in, and we're gonna tell like different stories. It's like short stories. It's gonna be some great cinema photography. I don't want to shoot it on. I want to shoot it on reds. I kind of want to shoot it almost like Blair Witch. They shot it on the camera because I want the stories to be more hip hopish and be more grounded in the message. Like I want the message to be it. Then I got we're doing a deal. I got two of my homeboys just came home from prison, from doing 27 years. We're inking a deal with them to do their story. They did more bank robberies. They did the most bank robberies in the United States history.
Wow.
More than Billy the Kid and all of them. They surpassed them with 175. There were 7 stories. And it's crazy because 7 FBI agents wrote stories on them and made money off telling their story. So now they're home. We just inking a deal to tell their story. I'm doing, I just posted up on Instagram, doing Raymond Washington's story. And it's Raymond Washington was the founder of the Crips. And so that story tells the story of LA. So it goes from the Crips, then the Bloods came after that as a result of the Crips, and it goes how the Crips and that influence went across the globe. And then I want to tell the story of 4800, how that linked into that, how drugs played into that, how hip hop played into that, how politics played into that, creating these different laws. And what you guys may not know is that the Crips and Bloods were the first one to ever be labeled as terrorists.
I did not know that.
Yeah, even to this day, we were labeled as terrorists when the Ku Klux Klan and all these other organizations still to this day have not been labeled as terrorists in this country. But Bill Clinton, under the 1984 crime bill, labeled the Crips and Bloods one of the most threatening organizations and labeled us as terrorists. And so people don't know that.
Do you have your own media company?
No.
You probably are going to start one.
Probably so, yeah.
It would be smart.
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I do want to ask is, can you leave all of our listeners and viewers with, because you read so much, you must have a ton of quotes that you keep kind of in the forefront of your head, that when you're not having such an amazing day, it keeps you moving forward in a positive way.
Keep fighting. That's all I can tell you is never quit. I don't have an amazing quote because I don't prepare speeches because I speak from the heart, but I can tell you never quit. Keep fighting. It don't, you know what I mean?
Stop.
Don't stop. I can tell you because I was in, like I said, I was in the hole for 3 years and 9 months. I was in the hole for 3 years and 9 months in the shoe. So it was either lay down or stand up under it and come out and get the world something different.
Well, thank you for taking the time and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we will see you all again next week. Bye, everybody.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.